Hello everyone. Um, my name is Jose, and this is my very first live coding session. This is something that I've been thinking about doing, and first let me tell you what I want to do. What I want to do in this series of streams is like do some live coding um, of some lead code problems here. And why do I want to do? Why do I want to do this? Well, a couple of reasons. So, for the selfish reason is I want to get better. I want to get better at coding, and I want to get better at explaining the coding. And one of the reasons for doing that is in this industry, you get the best jobs or good jobs, jobs that pay very well anyway, through doing coding in front of another person. So this person is going to see your ability to do problem solving, think critically, and solve the problem right in front of you, right? So they're gonna look at the way that you is break down the problem into smaller pieces, and then the way that you implement the code. And so for a person like me, I I do I earn a living coding, right? I write code. I'm a software engineer, and for a living, they actually pay me to do this stuff. And yet, I feel like I am terrible at these things. And if it's a person like me that does this for a living, I'm terrible at it. Imagine people who have less experience or are trying to get started in coding, and they they look at this stuff. They see what coding interviews are like, and they may feel like, nah, there's no way I can do this. Well, I tell you, I was there in your shoes. Like when I studied in school, uh, they didn't really teach me how to code. They just taught me the concept of engineering. You learn math, and you learn how computers work, and concepts that have to do with computers. But per se, you don't really learn how to implement code until you're given assignments and you do it. And the only way to get better is by practicing, by doing this over and over. And there are certain things that are good practice, and there's bad practice. Like, what you don't want to do is memorize solutions. What you want to do is develop critical thinking. So that's easier said than done. So, well, in my case, I get really nervous when I start coding in front of people. So even right now, I thought about like doing it live. Well, first, I don't even know how to do it live. But second, I'd be terrified if I had like someone just watching me. I'll get all nervous, and then I start blanking out, and it's like my brain is paying attention to the fact that there's somebody watching, and it's not really paying attention to like how to solve the problem. Also, while you're talking, right, I'm actually thinking about what I'm going to say and how to say it, and not thinking about the code. So the practice of coding in front of people and talking through the problem, um, it's good practice. So I want to do it. And if somebody, even if one person, gets better at coding because of my videos, then I did something good for the community, right? Help others, and I think that's how we get through life. Is like helping each other out. I've gotten help and inspiration from so many people, um, and I want to start giving back. So anyway, that's the motivation now, because I'm nervous. I want to pick an easy one. Now, in my profile, I've done some hard problems, some medium problems, and let's start with an easy. Okay, so let's see. But I'm not cheating. I've never seen, don't know what this problem is about, and I'm gonna start. Okay, so in this session, I might even like give up on it, but I'll try not to. All right, so let's read the description. given a string as given a string as consists of upper, lower case alphabets and empty space characters, return the length of the last word. Where I put this so it doesn't get alright. Return the length of the last word. Last word means the last appearing word if we look from left to right in the string. If the last word does not exist, return 0. A word is defined as a maximum string consisting of non-space characters only. So what the heck? The length, oh, okay, the length of the last word. So, an empty space, return the length of the last word. Oh, I see. Okay, so what we want is you get a string and there are spaces on the string, right? And you want to count the characters of the last word. Okay, so multiple ways of doing this. And so what we want to do is well, first define and understand the problem, right? So the problem is you're given a string, and you can see here from the function definition, right? The input is a string, and the output is an integer, right? Now, what we want to do is there are different ways of doing it, and like the naive way would be to count just traverse the whole string from beginning to end, and then keep the count of that of the characters. But if we could do a better way by actually, if we start from the end and count the number of characters until we find a white space or empty space character, then we return. Okay. And we return the count. So let's explain it that way. So, well, first thing we're gonna do, like, if the input string is empty or is null, we're gonna return 0. Okay, that takes care of our cases where there's an empty string. Next thing we want to do is we can start counting from the end. So for that, we're going to need, let's do a index that starts at the end. So this is the code here, right, where it gets the size of the string, right? And because we're working with zero-based arrays or zero-based length, we get size -1. All right. Then what we do is that while index is greater or equal than 0, we also could have picked a for loop, but that's fine. So what we do is char c equals base char at index, and that's going to start at the end. Now what we want is, like, we want the result to be a count, right? And we initialize the value to 0 because we're starting at the end, right? So if c equals space, then break. Now here's our assumption. The assumption is that the last character is not going to be a space. So let's do something here. If c space len size. Why am I doing that? Because I don't want to stop if the last character is blank. Well, let's leave that special case for later. We'll deal with that later. But just keep in mind that could be a tricky special case where if like this would not work if the last character is space. Okay. Now we could just let's do a break so it's more readable, and then return. So if the character is empty space, choose break. Otherwise, increment the count. What this does is will keep count of the letters. Okay, so start from the end. Oh, and we also want to decrement index. Right. So what we do is index starts at the end of the string, count starts at 0, right? And then we do a condition here where index is greater than or equal to 0, and the character is going to be the character at that index, right? We increment the count and decrement the index as we traverse through the loop, looking for the first instance of a space. Okay, so this should work. This should compile and build. Let's look for compilation errors. So I think that the string length is size. It's not, because length is for containers, for lists, or naked arrays. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go to the console and hit run code and see what happens. Okay, compile error, so cannot find symbol. So what is the symbol for string? Is it length or size? I guess it's length. So let's try that again. Okay, so it worked, right? Now, my thing is, this is if the last one, this is not going to work if the last character is a space. So we need to account for that, and we need simple, easy to understand logic that will do this, because we want our algorithm to be correct 100% of the time. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this. How do we want to do that? So if it's the last character and it's a space, then you say, okay, go to the next one and don't increment the count, right? So if index is equal to s length minus 1, right? Just go continue, and this will go to the next end of the loop, right? So now let's just do a real test, right? Let's make sure that this case still works, right? And now let's add a case where this has a space at the end, and let's run a test. Are we good? Are we not good? Time limit exceeded. Why is that? Why do we? Oh, because we still need to decrement the index if that happens. Okay. And we want to do it after the continue statement. And so these are the type of mistakes that you gotta be careful. Um, you gotta think about. Right? I would love to say that, oh yeah, when I'm not explaining and doing live coding, I don't make mistakes like this. And the truth is, I always make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I would. So if you're doing that and you're a beginner and this happens to you, just keep practicing. Learn from it. Okay. All right, now we're going to try that again and see if this works. It does work. Okay. So now, here's another thing that you want to think about, because um, it's about so computers are good at computing stuff, remembering stuff. Like humans, we're not really good. Like we make mistakes and we forget things, but our brains are incredible analytical engines. Okay, and you gotta when you're designing or creating algorithms, you gotta think that way. Like I say, you gotta think like and analyze this for every conceivable input, right? And think about the power that you have that computer doesn't have. It's like think about what cases will break this. You know what scenarios would break your algorithm, right? And also analyze the complexity. Okay, so the complexity of this algorithm, it's on what you call it, it's a linear, so it grows with the length of the string. So you would say O of n. That's how we do it in like in software engineering, like O of n. If you're a computer scientist, then you will understand that there's like best case, worst case, and expected case, right? But in here, we just say, okay, it's n. And in this case, O of n is the worst case because at the worst case, it will be a word that has no space. So then this will execute for the whole loop. Like the loop will traverse the whole string. So a best case is a word has only one character long, and so you will just check first element, the first two elements, right? The first one will be a character, the next one will be a space, and it will return. So it will be very fast. But the expected case would be pretty much proportional to the word, to the length of the string. And this can be very tricky to think about because so you think realistically, well, you expect that well, a word, how long is a word? Like 5 to 10 characters, so maybe it's just going to be this many characters long. But you don't approximate, you don't think about the algorithms this way, because there's no guarantee that the input is going to be a certain way. At least, well, when it said, what they tell you here in these exercises of Leet Code, they give you the constraints, but also in real world, if you're taking input from like a feed that a user is inputting or from some other system, right? You have to think about what will the expected case look like. Like, are we limited to ASCII characters? Are we limited to encode? Is it some random? Is it some noise? Is it some sensor? So you gotta think about those constraints as well, right? And that's the thing that the computer's not gonna tell you. That comes from the engineering part. Okay. So let's submit this and see what happens. I think this is correct, but who knows? Let's see. What does? Oh, look at that. Wrong answer. Okay. So this is a wrong answer because there's more than one. There's more than one space. So it didn't say that a word has to be separated by exactly one space. It could be any space, right? So I have another meeting. I have a meeting for work, so my work day is about to start. But let's see here. So how do we fix it? So if that's okay, so I guess if we say if the count equals zero, continue. That's a way to fix it. If count equals zero, then just keep going and only break if you had something, if you have a count. Okay? So let's see. And now what we're gonna do is like we're gonna take this and we're going to run our test case with this case, with this use case. Alright. Let's see. And it's accepted. So let's submit it again, and if it doesn't work, that will be it for this video. I'm gonna cut it, stop it, maybe publish it, maybe not. But yay, it worked, and it says faster than 100% of the submission. Woohoo! Alright. So okay, so this video is fit for publishing because it did make me look super bad. Alright. So let's stop the cameras. And well, before I go, well, thank you for watching. I have no idea if anyone is going to, watch this. But if you do, if you're watching, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. I hope it helped you. And if you're here to like judge me, well, that's so weird. That's my fault for putting it stuff online. Anyway, thank you very much and have a nice day.